Welcome to Bridging the Bay, the podcast where we connect the people, ideas, and partnerships shaping the future of real estate and community across Tampa Bay. I'm your host, Quan Rimmer, and in every episode, we explore how leadership, innovation, public service, and collaboration are influencing where and how we live. Recorded live from the Fabre Framework Studio, because every property has a story, and how that story is told matters. Fabre Framework specializes in real estate photography that highlights what buyers need to see clearly and honestly. Learn more at FabreFrameworks.com. Now, today's episode is one that impacts every resident, homeowner, business owner, and realtor across Hillsborough County. Whether it's registering a vehicle, paying property taxes, obtaining a driver's license, or even accessing critical public services, most people interact with the tax collector's office at some point in their lives. But what many may not realize is how much innovation, modernization, community outreach happens behind the scenes to keep those services efficient, accessible, and responsive in one of the fastest growing regions in Florida. And that's exactly what the Hillsborough County Tax Collector's Office is focused on every single day. Joining us today is Nancy C. Millan to talk about leadership, innovation, accessibility, community impact, and how her office is evolving to better serve the residents of Hillsborough County. Nancy, welcome to Bridging the Bay.
Thank you, Quan. That was a great introduction.
Thank you. So Nancy, for our listeners who may not fully understand the role of the tax collector's office, can you explain the services your office provides and how they impact residents every single day?
Well, as you mentioned in your intro, we are that one government office that everyone throughout the year has to visit our office, whether it's online or in person. You're touching our office, whether you own a home, whether you own a car, you're in our office and having a driver's license or an ID, you're coming there. If you're a fisherman, you're also going to come to our office because we issue hunting and fishing licenses. We actually register the boats, the trailers, you name it, anything that on wheels, you're having to register it with our office. We in the state of Florida, we're unique where the DHSMV has mandated that every tax collector in the state of Florida conduct the DHSMV work at the local level. So your tax collectors are essentially the DMV, which other people know in the state, other states, it's all handled by the state. Here is unique, which I think is great because as an elected tax collector, you have the autonomy to really implement some things that drive change, like you said, with innovation and accessibility. It's not the typical DMV, and I can tell you my motto has been since I became tax collectors to change the perception of what we are, that we're not the typical DMV. And so we take pride in that. And so we also issue birth certificates, Florida birth certificates, concealed weapons. License permits are also issued in our office. We also handle all the tourist development tax. So we're a pretty busy office. What makes us unique, too, is that we try to be a one-stop shop so that you have one location that you can visit and get things done when you need them in a crunch.
Wow. So your office serves more than 1 million customers annually.
That's in person.
That's in person. In person. What are some of those biggest responsibilities your team handles behind the scenes that people may not even realize?
That's a great question. So our biggest task is collecting and distributing $3.4 billion in property taxes that are collected here in Hillsborough County for over 500,000 properties. And residential and commercial. So that's one of the biggest tasks because all of Hillsborough County local government and all of our taxing authorities, they rely on it. We're essentially the collectors for all of local government and ensuring that those taxes are collected and distributed timely so that they can function and provide the services that we all receive within the county. So that's our biggest task. As far as volume, though, 90% of our work that we do, especially in person, is Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle Transactions, which is driver's license, IDs, and motor vehicles. And as you know, a growing county with 1.6 million people and more people moving into our county every single day, the first one of the first stops that anyone has to make when they're moving in is they'll have to come to our office to change their address, to get a new driver's license, and to register their vehicles. So that impact really has pushed us to drive innovation on how we can get people in and out easily, offering more online services, and really coming up with ways, especially with technology, to make it more efficient and convenient. Doing things more from the convenience of your home is something that we're focused on.
Yes. Because you mentioned it, your office recently released that fiscal year annual report highlighting that more than $3 billion collected in property taxes.
That's correct.
Over 25 million returned to taxing authorities. What does that say about the operational philosophy and the priorities of your team?
Well, one of the pillars of the tax collector's office is being transparent and accuracy, and having the fiscal responsibility that we have handling the money for all of Hillsborough County. So it's our responsibility to ensure that those tax dollars are being spent wisely. So again, that we're being conservative in what we spend and making good use of taxpayer dollars. I'm always going to ensure that we're doing the right thing for Hillsborough County, and that requires, being mindful of what we spend and how we spend it so that we become more efficient. Every big purchase we do cost benefit analysis to make sure that we're getting a good return on investment. And again, our main priority is the money that we spend is really to improve customer service, create efficiencies so that you have a great customer experience when you are visiting our office, regardless of what the touch point is.
Good, I like that. You made history as Hillsborough County's first Latina tax collector.
Yes.
What has that journey meant to you personally and professionally?
Really, it's been a humbling experience, and it's not really about the title or although I think it's amazing and it's something that I'll carry, close to my heart. But setting the example for others, I think really, in carrying the torch to set the example for young Latina women and women in general to be in these positions, and that regardless of what your background is or how you came up through your professional career, that there's always opportunities. And, my story is unique. I started at the tax collector's office as an accounting clerk, one of the lowest positions there, and I worked my way up. I also took advantage of tuition reimbursement and went to college. I was married, had a child. So I used my story too, because I think it sets the example. It doesn't matter at what point in your life you're at, that there's still opportunities to push forward. And when you least expect it, building relationships and partnerships and collaborating is very important. And oftentimes it opens the door for you for opportunity. And I believe that this is my opportunity to open the door for others, and using my story to inspire others to know that regardless of what your background, that if you really push and drive and have the passion to do something, that you can make it happen. And I think that that's mainly, making history, but using it to really inspire others I feel that that's my main responsibility now moving forward, is hoping to get others to run for office and volunteer for things and giving back to our community, which is so important.
Yes. I would say one thing people consistently mention about your office is the focus on that customer experience and modernization.
Mm-hmm.
So could you share, how have you worked to modernize the tax collector's office and improve the overall customer experience?
Well, that's something, as I became tax collector, that was in the forefront. Again, being there for that long of that time, I'd hate to admit that I've been there that long, but it's really, I didn't sit complacent with the things the way they were, and I really embraced technology to make things easier. And again, we all know the stigma behind the DMV office. There's movies made about it. I think there's a Netflix show about it now. And
Yes.
I'm like, it makes it even harder because everybody has this perception of what that experience is when you go to the DMV. And so I've made that, that's our mantra, is we want to really showcase that what amazing customer service experience can feel like when you go to our office, and make it as pleasant as possible. So investing in technology so that you can gosh, we've done so much within a short period of time of renewing your tags online and being able to schedule a time to pick it up so that you don't have to wait. We've introduced lock boxes similar to Amazon Box, where you drop off work, we process it, and then they're able to pick up when they get a message. So again, using the technology that's already available in other industries and how we can incorporate that to make life easier. We've also done express title pickups where if you have an electronic title and now you're going to sell your car, you need that title. Again, you can order it online, order to pick it up at a certain time in a certain branch. You can do that from the convenience of your home, get to our office, pick it up, and then just go on your way. So again, we're trying to find ways to make it easier for our customers. We just introduced Miles, which is a mobile office. So does everything we can do in brick under one of our branches, but now we have this office on wheels, which is really exciting because now we can go to those underserved areas, partner with community leaders and go to different events. And again, bringing services to the people, especially where it's most needed. Some examples of that is going to Sun City Center. We know there's, a group of seniors that don't always have the luxury of having transportation or the modes to get to our offices. So bringing the customer service to them and those services right into their community is what we want to do. So this is going above and beyond, not the typical government office, but thinking outside the box is how we can forge those connections and relationships with our community.
Okay, I like that. What innovations or future technology improvements are you most excited about implementing?
Well, that one was a big one. This is
Miles.
this bus, a mobile bus, I think is really going to open the door for a lot of opportunities for us to serve our community in a way that's never been done before here in Hillsborough. So I'm really excited about that. And then we also have an office that we're going to be actually showcasing with our ribbon cutting ceremony next week on the exchange of MacDill Air Force Base.
Nice.
We all know that MacDill plays an important role in our nation, and here in Hillsborough County, there's a big community of military families and veterans that live here. So having an opportunity to open an office on the exchange on the base is really something that we, again, thinking out of the box and really giving back to our community in a way that serves them and gives them the treatment that they deserve. We all know their schedules, and getting on and off base can also be a challenge, especially when they need to get things done. So now they have a office that's dedicated to our military families right on base.
I love it. I love it. Now, we'll take a quick break and be right back with more of Bridging the Bay, recorded live from the Fabre Framework studio. Fabre Frameworks. Your listings are a reflection of your brand. Fabre Frameworks helps realtors elevate both through consistent professional real estate photography that builds trust with buyers and sellers alike. Learn more at FabreFrameworks.com. As Hillsborough County continues growing rapidly, I know there are also major conversations happening currently around infrastructure, policy, and community development. There has definitely been some ongoing discussions surrounding the proposed Tampa Bay Rays Stadium and that project and those concerns about the possible impact on literally one of your busiest offices.
Correct.
Can you share your perspective on that conversation?
Quan, that's a hot topic.
I know.
And it's, it's one that, we're working through. First of all, I'm a big proponent of building our community and having professional teams like the Rays here. I think add quality of life and opportunities for our community for growth and for small businesses and so forth. So I'm really for it. But yes, there are some concerns when we talk about being good stewards of taxpayer dollars. In this proposal, the tax collector's office, one of our busiest offices near the stadium, is in that plan. And so I have deep concerns about, what's going to happen to our office and where does the funding come from? This is a time where we're not only facing, property tax reform that could have a significant impact on government and local government and the revenue that comes in. So now you have an additional layer of funding for something, that it's not only for the tax collector, but there's a huge amount of money that's, that we have to come up with for this deal to happen. And in that deal, I was in the mix with the building. And so we're working with the county, the city, and with the Rays to come up with some conclusion and some agreement where we find a happy median. At this point, I don't know where that's going. Conversations are taking place as we speak. And so we're monitoring it. But I will tell you from my standpoint, as an elected, and looking out for taxpayer dollars and for the services that we provide in one of the busiest offices, I did raise the point of what happens to us and who pays for the replacement of a building that's on 5 acres of land, and you have a 25,000 square foot building there that serves about 900 people a day with essential services that we all need. And typically we don't realize that we need it until it's like the last minute when you're going to a trip or something and you realize your driver's license is expired and have to come in. But, these are real concerns that need to be talked about, need to be brought up. And I'm thankful that, we're having those conversations now and bringing our office to the forefront of those conversations was my responsibility, is to ensure that we have a seat at the table so that we ensure that, again, being good stewards of taxpayer dollars, because replacing a building, with 5 acres, you're in real estate. We paid $4 million back in 2015. I would imagine now it'd be 15 to 25 million.
It'd be a significant amount, yeah.
And finding 5 acres in that area, which serves, a community, from Carrollwood to Town and Country to West Tampa. Yeah. It's a large community that depends on that. So we definitely wanted to stay in that area. So it's something that we need to watch. Again, it's a delicate topic because we want to be supportive and we want to see this happen, but we have to really iron out, what that means and the impact on all of us in our community. Who pays for it?
That's the big thing. Who's paying for it?
Exactly.
Are there any legislative updates or policy changes this year that homeowners, realtors, or residents should be paying attention to?
Well, the biggest one right now is property tax reform. And, we've heard a lot about that this last session, and they didn't come to any general consensus from the House and the Senate. The House did vote a couple things that were voted unanimously, but the Senate did not. So now there are still continuous conversations, and from what I understand, that there's still time to schedule a special session this summer. So we're going to closely monitor that. And it's hard to really tell. It makes it difficult for us, and especially when you're budgeting and planning for the next fiscal year, because we don't know where we're going to land. So we have several models. But I will tell you that it will definitely have a significant impact in Hillsborough County and local government. I will give you an example of in our office in particular, the funding. So we're a unique office where we provide services for local government. At the same time, we provide services for the state. So we collect fees and commissions from property taxes, which is our major revenue source that we have that makes up that actually pays the bills. 90% of the transactions, however, are from the state. When they created the mandate back in 2010 that tax collectors would take on all these responsibilities, the one thing that didn't get shifted over are the funds and where the funds resided. Mm-hmm. Those funds, most of the funds go back to the state. So we're expected to do all of this work. And as you know, cost of living, keeping good employees and benefits, 80% of our budget is for salaries and benefits. So if you were to pluck out a big chunk of revenue, now we're faced with a ton of people in our offices, but yet we don't have the revenue to pay for the services that you are expecting. So there's some real challenges coming ahead. We've actually last year proposed a redirection of some of those fees to stay at the local level for tax collectors to cover their costs to do the work for the state. It didn't go through. Because, once people get used to getting those funds and they're used in coffers for other projects or what have you, it's hard to pull it away.
Right.
But it's a real issue that really needs to be highlighted because people don't really, there's a lot of moving parts and it's complicated, but it really requires some understanding and education of our public to know, the services that you're receiving here and at the high level that you're receiving it now. We talked about changing the perception, and tax collectors across the state really take it seriously because they want to provide the best service possible. And that costs money because that, you have to have great people that are tasked to do many, many different jobs and know very many, you heard all the services that we have.
Yes.
So they have to know all of these things. And so to keep a workforce that's knowledgeable and able to handle all of these things and keep them happy and keep them there, and all the technology that we have, protecting data costs money. So that's a real concern that I think needs to be relayed to our public, especially if something goes out to be voted on, because we take things for granted. And then everybody wants to say, hey, we don't have to pay our taxes. We don't have to pay bills. I would love it too. But it all comes at a cost. Nothing here is for free. And the things that we are accustomed to having to beautify our community, it costs. And there are services that are paid through those property taxes. So I'm not opposed to, the property tax reform. And I do believe, as new homeowners have a hard time, the seniors.
Yes.
There is room for improvement. However, you have to look at the big picture or have some type of revenue replacement, what's going to happen and how that impacts not only homeowners who are homesteaded, but what about the homeowner who has several rentals in commercial property? Because there's nothing to say that they're protected. And what's going to happen to the renters then? Because their taxes will continue to grow, and there's no revisions for that segment at this point that I've seen. So imagine what rent's going to look like. Yeah. So all of these questions come up, but when you look at the bills, you try to educate as much as you can, and we try to advocate and bring up these concerns, and hopefully, with session that we can get some things done, or just take a step back to really evaluate everything without making a quick decision that really has some more complicated impacts. Yes, later on. I know I could talk about that forever, but it really is a concern that we all should be thinking about and educating, especially in your world. And as new homeowners come on board, there definitely needs to be some changes, but it will definitely have to take, I think, more time, and it will have an impact on us.
Definitely. I know that community outreach and partnerships is a major priority for your office.
Yes.
So how does your office engage with the community beyond the traditional government services?
We have gone above and beyond. One of the ones that I'm most proud of that gives us an opportunity to engage our schools is our Kids Tag Art program, where we allow fifth graders to participate. All the art teachers we talk to them about the program if they want to engage. What they do is have their kids design a vanity plate, and so it gives them a chance to kind of learn about our office. We actually go and talk about the vanity plates. We talk about our office too, so it allows us to talk a little bit about local government, but then we give them an opportunity. We showcase all our specialty license plates and what it means and how it supports different nonprofits. So they design vanity plates. Nice. And then we sell them. And all of the proceeds along with sponsorships goes right back into the classroom. So for instance, this year we had 66 schools participate. Nice. These are fifth graders throughout Hillsborough County schools. They participated. We had 2,700 artists who submitted artwork. Wow. And then we had some winners. And from that, we raised almost $38,000 this year. And each teacher, 66 teachers, will receive from the proceeds of selling different items and from our sponsorships, will receive approximately $570 that goes back to their classroom so that they can spend on art supplies and doing projects with their kids. A lot of us know that teachers, they are always, taking money out of their own pockets to buy supplies for their classrooms. So this is a little something that we can give back. It's unique. It's very different, where the tax collectors is partnering with Hillsborough County Schools and doing something that gives back to our community.
I love it. So leadership in public service comes with unique challenges and opportunities. If you could leave one lasting impact on Hillsborough County through your leadership, what would you hope that would be?
I read that question and I had to give it some thought, but I really think it's about, we live in some crazy times and there's a lot of divisiveness, but I think I've always taken the approach is, to me, it's an honor to serve. And it's not about divisiveness, it's about service and providing the best service without, getting into, one side or the other, but really leading by example and working together for the betterment of our community. And that's how I have, I think I've been successful in that I don't choose sides. And this is personal. It's like, I think what makes me successful, because my job is not about policies or politics, it's about service, regardless of what party we are on. But I would love to see us, I think in general, work together. I think when you work together, you get more accomplished than being divided. And I think that's something that I would love to see continue the work to set the example for all of us, to set that divisive, those things aside and really work together to get things accomplished, because it's crazy times and you see what's happening every day at the national level, even at the local level. But I think that you get more when we work together with common goals. And so that's probably the one thing that I really think that I hope to leave and pass on to others.
I love it. I love it. Where can residents go to learn more about the services, upcoming workshops, and resources you have available through your office?
So you can visit our website at hillstaxfl.gov, hillstaxfl.gov, to get all the information. And yes, we do have an event with our realtors that we definitely want to showcase in September, where we have a workshop and we bring in elected officials, myself, Bob Enriquez, our clerk of the circuit court, Victor Chris. We bring all of us in that have anything to do with our property taxes and those tax notices and everything. We try to get us all together to do a workshop to address any issues and the inner workings of how that bill comes to fruition, and address any issues that realtors have. We want our realtors to be equipped and informed so that when you're out with that buyer who knows nothing about when they receive that tax notice and have issues regarding valuation or homesteads or how to pay their property taxes, that we can equip you with all the information you need and really create those communication lines where we can pick up the phone and then find out what we need to address and continue to improve on what our process is.
Yes. Well, that brings us to the close of today's episode of Bridging the Bay, recorded live from the Fabre Framework studio. Great visuals don't just attract attention, they set expectations. That's the Fabre Framework's difference, and why real estate professionals across the region trust their photography. Learn more at FabreFrameworks.com. A huge thank you to Nancy for joining us today.
Thank you, Quan. I had fun. Thank you.
I'm glad. The incredible work you're being done to modernize the services, improve the accessibility, and to serve the residents of Hillsborough County with excellence. To our listeners, today's conversation is a reminder that local government impacts our daily lives in more ways than many people realize, from property taxes and registrations to innovation and community outreach. Informed residents help build stronger, more connected communities. Whether you're a homeowner, business owner, a realtor, or a longtime resident, understanding the resources and services available to you is an important part of building a stronger Tampa Bay. And if you found value in this episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode of Bridging the Bay as we continue connecting you with the voices of organizations and leaders shaping the future of Tampa Bay. Until next time, I'm Quan Rimmer, and remember, when we bridge the Bay, we bring the community closer.